7th day of hearings for the January 6th Capitol riots, we learned that Donald Trump did exactly what we thought he did. He directed and incited violence toward the nation's capital, toward lawmakers, toward his own vice president. And the hearing provided a lot of evidence to make that point. Now, there was a big meeting that took place between Trump administration officials, including his White House counsel, and some of the, believe it or not, more unsavory people in his orbit, people like Sidney Powell, who he wanted to name as special counsel to seize voting machines in states that Trump had lost. And hours after that meeting took place, again, that was on December 18th, 2020, he sent out a tweet, and this is what the tweet said. Peter Navarro releases 36-page report alleging election fraud more than sufficient to swing victory to Trump. A great report by Peter, statistically impossible to have lost the 2020 election. Big protest in DC on January 6th. Be there, will be wild. And that was determined to be, by Trump's supporters, by the way, a call to action. And nothing makes that clearer than the clip that you're about to watch. Here is a collection of goofballs and crazy people reacting to that specific tweet by Donald Trump. Let's watch.
President Trump, in the early morning hours today, tweeted that he wants the American people to march on Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021.
And now Donald Trump is calling on his supporters to descend on Washington, D.C., January 6th.
He is now calling on we, the people, to take action and to show our numbers.
We're going to only be saved by millions of Americans moving to Washington, occupying the entire area, if necessary, storming right into the Capitol. You know, we know the rules of engagement. If you have enough people, you can push down any kind of a fence or a wall.
This could be Trump's last stand. And it's a time when he has specifically called on his supporters to arrive in DC.
Now, this is a little bit of a side note, but you can probably notice Tim Pool's included in that montage, that or compilation video that the select committee put together for this hearing. And it's kind of hard to continue on with your grift of posing as a left-winger who somehow constantly spouts right-wing talking points when you're included in a compilation video of unhinged right-wingers, supporting Trump's call to action there. Anyway, just a point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I think the most important one there is actually not from Alex Jones or Tim Pool. It's from that guy, Matt Bracken, who's got an InfoWars shirt on. I don't know if he's part of InfoWars, but he said, this is well before January 6th. This is after that infamous December 19th tweet about how it's gonna be wild. He says, we're gonna storm into the Capitol. We can knock down the barricades. I mean, you just heard it yourself. They planned to do what you saw on January 6th. All the way back then. It was not, impromptu, we got carried away. Oh my God, we got excited and we did this. No, they planned to do it. And this is really important, guys, both for all of us in understanding it, but eventually for prosecutors proving their case. When Trump says wild could mean a lot of different things in different contexts. So it might be perfectly in, we're going to a wild party or whatever. When he says wild, look at the reaction it got from the right-wing commentators and the right-wing militia. They immediately understood what it meant. It meant violence. And when you see their speeches, they have all these code words. One code word is 1776. When they say that, that means violent revolution. That means violent coup, okay? So to us, 1776 is year of independence, that's a good thing, etc. But when they say it, they mean attack violently. And Steve Bannon is gonna come into this in a second, and he's very clear the day before January 6th.
Exactly, so there was some evidence implicating Steve Bannon. There has been evidence implicating Steve Bannon, but I would argue that today's video made that even more clear. So here is Steve Bannon's reaction to Trump, specifically mentioning that there's gonna be a big protest in DC on January 6th. Be there, will be wild. Here's how Bannon reacted.
The committee has learned from the White House phone logs that the president spoke to Steve Bannon, his close advisor, at least twice on January 5th. The first conversation they had lasted for 11 minutes, Listen to what Mr. Bannon said that day after the first call he had with the president.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's all converging, and now we're on, as they say, the point of attack, right? The point of attack tomorrow. I'll tell you this. It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen, okay? It's going to be quite extraordinarily different. And all I can say is strap in.
I wonder what they were talking about during that phone conversation. Steve Bannon is now saying that he is willing to testify before the select committee investigating January 6th. We'll see if that actually happens. The backstory is that Trump is angered that there hasn't been anyone supportive of him to testify during these hearings. We'll see what happens. We'll see if Bannon, has the guts to show up and answer questions about this. But yeah, it is interesting that after the first phone call with Trump, that was Bannon's commentary on his show.
So that commentary is very important because their main defense is, hey, look, it just kind of happened. Trump didn't say to do it. He just used kind of loose words and people got carried away. But when you find out, no, right after his tweet, all the militia planned to do violence. They took his call to come on January 6th as a call to violence. And then you see Steve Bannon right after talking to Trump, before January 6th, knowing what was coming, where he says point of attack several times. He says all hell is going to break loose. He says it's not going to go down the way you think it is. So that means Trump told him, oh yeah, we didn't tell the public that we're going to attack the Capitol, but we're going to attack the Capitol. And so that's why all hell's breaking loose and it's a point of attack, etc. So that is damning. Bannon says, oh, if I come to the hearings, I'll go medieval on them.
Okay, sure.
Sure. So
Looking
that's his
forward
way.
to that.
But you never know, Democrats get scared easy, so they might not bring him in. And Trump, if you're a tough guy, why don't you come and testify? You could defend yourself for hours and hours. But as always, Trump says you go to the Capitol and then he goes back home to his bunker and watches it from TV. He tells somebody defend me, but he goes into his bunker because he's a coward.
Now, final video that I want to show you, and then we'll go over a few other highlights. This one features a text exchange between Trump's former campaign manager, Brad Parscales, and Katrina Pearson. And apparently Parscales felt some remorse over the fact that he had assisted in getting Trump elected in the first place. This is after the Capitol riots had already taken place. This is after Ashley Babbitt was shot and killed as she was attempting to get through a window in a door to get to members of Congress to do who knows what. So here's the exchange, here's what he said.
Mr. Parscales said, quote, "This is about Trump pushing for uncertainty in our country, a sitting president asking for civil war." And then when he said, "This week I feel guilty for helping him win," Katrina Pearson responded, "You did what you felt right at the time and therefore it was right." Mr. Parscales added, "Yeah, but a woman is dead. And yeah, if I was Trump and I knew my rhetoric killed someone." When Ms. Pearson replied, "It wasn't the rhetoric," Mr. Parscales said, "Katrina, yes, it was."
So he is not in any way on the left. He is a rabid right winger. He was Trump's campaign manager. And there he is showing remorse for getting the man elected in the first place because of the rhetoric that he used that led to the riots, of course, but also, a woman by the name of Ashley Babbitt getting shot and killed because she was misled by Donald Trump into thinking that the election was stolen from Trump when in fact it had not been stolen from Trump.
Yeah, that was stunning to me because I didn't realize Parscales was human.
Same.
I thought he was just like all these dirtbags, had no emotion, no empathy, didn't care about anybody else, loved that they trampled on people as they got into power. It turns out he actually cares if someone died. He cares that Trump was, quote, trying to start a civil war. That's his campaign manager. That's not some deep state guy. That's the guy who was probably the most critical guy into getting him into office in the first place, right? And Katrina Pearson in other parts said that Trump, quote, likes the crazies and he likes his supporters to be, quote, very, very vicious. So those are his top allies saying Trump wants civil war. He likes vicious supporters who are crazy. So if you're a right winger and you think Katrina Pearson's lying, Brad Parscales and Bill Barr and all of his White House counsel and everyone that you told us was great before is all lying, and Trump and lunatic Rudy are the only ones telling the truth, there's nothing we could do to help you because no amount of facts will convince you.
And finally, today's hearing closed with the disclosure of Donald Trump engaging in witness tampering, trying to personally hit up the witnesses to do what? I mean, we know what happened with Cassidy Hutchinson a day before she was supposed to give her 4th day of depositions. She was contacted by a Trump lackey and essentially told, we know you're loyal. We know you're gonna do the right thing, Cassidy. Who knows what Trump was trying to say to the witness? I'm sure we're gonna learn more about that in an upcoming hearing next week. In fact, they're planning on scheduling it during prime time, which to me signals they have something huge, bigger than anything we've seen so far in the hearing. So we'll see what happens. And I don't know if that's gonna be next week or in a future hearing. But the fact that Trump engaged in witness tampering, that in and of itself is a crime. And so the ball's in Merrick Garland's court, okay? The Attorney General gets to decide whether or not there are any criminal charges filed against Donald Trump. So far, we haven't heard a word about that from the Attorney General, but I don't know how much more evidence you need, really.
Yeah, no, if Merrick Garland doesn't file any charges, it will be historic cowardice. Historic.